Hello guys, welcome back to another Conan Exiles build video. I've been doing a lot of these recently, which I'm having a lot of fun with, and I hope you guys are too. So, in this episode of our build video, I've thought about doing a build that is nothing in reference to anything else, or not even a suggested build. This is something that I've thought about doing myself, and one of those builds is actually just a design that I really like, or like, I guess you could consider a dream home that's popped into my head. And I mean, it might not be like, you know, top notch, but it's just something that popped into my head where I have the perfect size for the rooms that I want. Maybe not for like practical purposes, but just for looks, at least. Probably more in a creative style rather than a survival, but we could always go through the survival route by certain aspects as we do this build. But I want to show you that we are up at one of my favorite building spots in the game in the Highlands. The Highlands is probably one of my top favorite, probably number one favorite, I'd say number one favorite area to build. And we are in G10, or at least you could probably consider this between G9 and 10, because it's pretty much near the line. It's technically in 10, but you could consider it either one. Doesn't really matter, just consider it on the line. So I'm going to build out of just whatever. And I decided to remove the mods and we're going to play strictly vanilla just because there's a lot of stuff going on. There's a lot more menus to go through as well. So I decided to remove all my mods for now. And if I ever decide to do the Let's Play, continue that for Age of Calamitous, then I'll just put all those mods back in. But I do have that as a separate save, as a separate file. Anyway, without me talking your ear off, instead of actually building, let's get into the building actually. So I'm going to get rid of these trees real quick because these are in the way. I want to get rid of them. And we're going to be building in first person just because it makes it easier for me to see and for your guys' perspective as well. So the build, at least my dream idea for a house, has to do with Numidian. Ever since Numidian ever came out in the game, I fell in love with it because it's such a good build material for small. It could be for like a small cottage or even large castles, and I built both types. So we're going to be building out of a median, but we're going to be combining other DLC stuff too. But just as a foundation part, or at least an outline, these are not going to be the permanent blocks for this build. These are just going to be placeholders for what I intend to use later on. So I'm just going to scoot this over here. So the way that I've thought about this is the front entrance is going to face this direction just because there's a lot of stuff going on over there. So I want to make sure that we have a good and present front space here, so that way when you walk up this hill, it's right there in front of your face. All right, so I'm going to bring this back one more. I'm going to go over 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's see. Yeah, we're going to go 4, and then I'm going to do wedge foundations here as well. And then I'm going to bring this back 1, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. Bring that back 4. And make sure that this is even with it. And now the back here, I'm going to bring this out one more through the middle and then bring out our wedge foundations here. So we have a shape that looks like this, which obviously in a game like Conan Exiles, it is quite small, but it is going to be functional. So I'm going to go ahead and get my Numidian fence foundations, which these are actually these are my favorite fence foundations ever in the game. One of my all-time favorites. Just because it goes with a lot of different other designs or other blocks in DLCs and even in base game as well. It's just really good. And what I'm doing is, and I'm explaining this in every build video in case you guys are coming across this for the first time, this is your first Conan build video that you've seen on my channel. So what I'm doing is I put down the foundations first just to get myself an outline of exactly the shape that I want for my build. and then I go back around and I cover it with fence foundations. And the reason I do that is because because in the game, regular foundations cost a lot more rendering performance. It takes more rendering to have them spawn into the world when you're going far away and then you come back. And that goes with any bases. If you play multiplayer, it's definitely very much clear in that regard, because if you are in a big base and they use a bunch of foundations, it's going to be a lot more laggy. Your frames are going to drop a lot more than if you were to use fence foundations, which takes a lot less rendering capabilities, less power in rendering these fence foundations. Now, I'm going to remove all of the regular foundations since I have my outline here, and then I'm going to take one of my favorite types of flooring in the game, and it comes from, if I can find it, it's here somewhere, Frontier. And I like Frontier because I really enjoy the wood. I like the design of this wood here. And I think what I want to do is have it face horizontally. I want it to point horizontally for me. So we're going to go just like this. And then pretty much have this. It doesn't matter with the wedges because the wedges face all kinds of different directions, as you can see. If you want to flip it around, you can as well, but my preference is it doesn't really matter. So I'm just going to go around and use these ceilings as the placeholder of the foundations. I mean, this is going to be the permanent part here. And what I'm also going to do is, since you see this big gap here and there's not much support that is within this middle section, I'm going to take some pillars, and it really doesn't matter which pillars you use because you're not going to see it anyway, because we're not going to have a basement here. If I built it taller, then, it'd be a little bit different. And I'm just going to go around and put some of these pillars down here so that way there's a lot more support going on in the middle. And you could tell by how much support it has by how green or yellow or red it is. The more red it gets, the less support it has, therefore it makes it harder for you to build on top of things. The more green it is, like this emerald green, that means it has the highest amount of support that it can possibly have, which is what you want in your builds. Okay, so now we're going to go back to the Nemedian and we're going to start doing our building stuff. So I'm going to go ahead and put a window here, put a window there, and then the rest of these are going to be walls, and obviously we're going to have a door frame, which the door frame will be right here, just like this. I don't really need much space for like an entrance. I'm not like, what is it? What are they called? Gate doors, gate frames, things like that. I mean, if I plan on building something big, like a castle or something, obviously I'm going to use those. But for this kind of dream build type thing, I'm not going to use those. And I definitely want some windows here to at least be able to, see outside or get some natural light in, which I don't really think, there's not really like lens flares that come through the window that much. So, especially with these windows, because they have like a tiny little awning above them. So, kind of not really easy to see out of, but it's still nice regardless. Okay, so the next thing is I need to build this up one more because we're not just going to have, we're definitely not going to have just one floor of this house. Like, a dream build of mine is obviously 2 floors. So I'm going to build this up with 2 walls instead. And this front part here, actually, oops, I did the wrong front part. So this part here is going to go up like this, while this one is going to stay at the bottom on the first floor. So if I do this and use our inverted sloping walls, we can have these. And I really love the Nemedian roof pieces because I just love the shingling and I love the design of them overall. It's just really, really pretty. All right, so we have something like this so far, which is starting to look good. I like it. The porch is going to be a little bit interesting with the way that it is because We have wedges here that are like this, or we could use a square instead, just like that. It's a bit strange, but you know, it's nothing really, like I said, not going to be a grand type of porch or anything like that. So on the inside, I'm actually going to split up these rooms individually into different spaces. So the first one we have is going to be, I guess you could consider probably the living room, maybe. And right here, in this middle part, I'm actually going to put stairs. I'm actually going to put stairs right here. And instead of going all the way up, like so, what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to turn it, I'm going to put a ceiling down, like so. And honestly, both of these staircases work, both the Frontier and the Nemedian, just because they're wood textures. So, you know what? We're going to use the Frontier for this instead as the stairs. All right, so then the next thing is I need to put a doorway right there because go into this living space right here. And then back here could be like the kitchen. And then on this other end right here, which we definitely need, because this is kind of like just the entryway, pretty abrupt entryway, if you will. We have this side room as well, which this could be used as probably like, I don't know, like a place to eat or something. And I'm thinking of maybe putting like a dining room, possibly. And I'm thinking of putting a doorway here so that way the kitchen has 2 access points. And then we just finish it off by building those up just like so. Now the upstairs is going to be a bit interesting because what's going to happen is I might have to redo these stairs the way that I've thought about them, only because of the way that I have this laid out. So instead of having them here, what I could do is probably expand this room right here, this living space. Okay, so I decided to take a minute because stairs might be a little more complicated than I thought in the first place. So I'm going to go ahead and build the roof up first, at least a little bit, so that way I at least have an idea of how much space I'm going to have in the top floor. Because I don't want it to be like four blocks high or 4 walls high. The roof is fine, but the walls themselves, I feel like that's a little too tall for my taste. Because we're building something that's quite small and more of a like comfortable living space rather than like some big place for multiple people that's going to be living inside of it. So it just makes more sense to build something that's a little bit more, you know, single player-esque. So I'm just going to build up the roof to see how much space I have here. And this is important because where I put the stairs, you know, that determines how I lay out the rooms and obviously like how I put the ceilings down for like a hallway or some other form of a walking area to get from room to room. So, because I've had a couple ideas on exactly certain points in this build to put the stairs just based on the roof sloping. Because I've thought of putting the stairs right here and then it kind of circles around, which if I were to put wedge foundations here and then put a set of stairs here, if I walk up here, there's not much room to walk. So it's a cool thing to try to do, but obviously it's definitely not enough space. The other idea that I had was doing it from a corner, which it decreases the amount of space that we have within this room here that's like the living room, unless I decide to put it on this side, which I think would probably be better as a floor plan. So what I could do is put this up here because if I do that, then the way that this roof is going to be, the way that it's going to look, it's going to follow along with the sloped portion. So it's going to look a lot better in that regard. A lot better. And the thing is that this is going to be a room up here. So I've considered making this into the bedroom for upstairs. And this one's going to be just a taller part of the home, like the highest part of the home, rather than, putting a roof here. The roof's going to be a bit taller. So I'm going to put walls here. And put some windows just like that. There we go. And then just fill in the space here as we go. Obviously putting the ceiling down. So we actually have the floor in, so you know how this room will, what the size of the room will be, and what it looks like when it's on the second floor. And we can also make some smaller spaces in this build as well, instead of having everything like so open and tall with the ceilings. Oh, and it's raining in the game. This is like one of the other parts, other reasons why I like the Highlands so much is because I do enjoy the rain. I do enjoy the weather in the Highlands. What do you guys think? Do you like the weather in it as well, or do you prefer more like the desert, the jungle, swamp area, marshlands, snow biome, or the volcano? Which I know some of those places aren't really that bearable to live in, but it's still pretty cool to have bases in those places as long as you have the right equipment. Okay, so something like this, where it has a little space in here, where you can add maybe chests or something, like attic space, I guess you could consider that. And then for the rest of these, it's just going to be blocked off because there's not really anything you could do with this space here. And make this like a little hallway, just like so, and probably put a door frame on this side too, just to look like that. I think what I'll do. Oh, do I have those facing the wrong way? I do. Oopsie. We're supposed to be facing this direction horizontally. I like the arrows for this because it really helps telling me which direction it's facing. Especially those lines, because the frontier ones, like you see those two lines there. Yeah, it's really helpful as well. Okay. So I'm honestly thinking if I used a corner, yeah, sloped roof corner here, and put that there instead, that one's gonna have to be facing, yeah, just like that. Just like so. Alright. So I'm gonna use these sloped roof pieces to bring up the roof just like this, and we're gonna use both the inverted wedge slope roof and the normal sloped wedge slope roof because there's gonna be a little gap in between here. And I'm gonna go ahead and put a piece of the ceiling like this, because that way I can have something hanging from the top there, which normally I could do that anyway from the roof itself, but just having a flat space there with how high the ceiling will be, it's better that way. Alright, so let's get the inverted roof, and it makes it easier for it to attach like that too, so that's also why I have it. Now this portion, which I think I'm going to use a corner piece like that, like this, and not really being much of an explainer. I'm doing like this, like that, which you see what I'm doing though. You see how it's working. And I definitely want to make sure that I close off these spaces too on the inside because it'll just look weird with all these gaps. With all these gaps in place, and I think it'd just be smarter if I just have all these walls face outside here, since the rest of these are as well. So this outside, like so. And now in this corner bit here, it's a little bit awkward only because of the way that this shape is. And there's no roof pieces that can connect all of these corners together. So what I'm going to do is make this into a little tower. So I'm going to connect, so get rid of that wedge piece, and I'm going to put an actual wall right here. I'm going to put a wall right here, there, and I'll just use a sloping inverted wall on this end, if it'll allow me, because sometimes this game's a little finicky. There we go. Just like that. And what I could do to make it a little bit more appealing is I'll bring it up one more, so that way that can act as maybe, that could be a chimney or something like that. And then cover it up with a ceiling piece, just like that. And you can't really see it from down here because, I mean, unless you're climbing up there. If you're building this in actual survival, of course, you're going to be climbing up there, but, you know, there's no reason to really climb up there if it's already completed. Anyway, so I'm going to cover this up, and then we're going to finish off the roof by adding these Numidian rooftop ends. Look at that. That looks really nice. I think this design is really cool. I've actually never really built this kind of shape before, but it's definitely something that I've thought about just as of yesterday, funny enough. Because I wanted to make a video today, which this the same day I'm building this and it's coming out. I wanted to build this sort of thing. All right, so I need to put the door in. That is a gate door that is too big. So we have a door there. And really, if you want to, for the inside, you could put door frames anywhere else. You don't have to have it this small either if you don't want to. But I think for the sake of the build for this, just to make it more traditional style, you know, it just looks more it looks more complete this way. Or what I could do is completely just open this side up, just like so, so that way this entire space is being used instead of just it being a little tiny square here and then you just go left or right. Because these stairs here definitely take up a bit of that space, so it'd be better just to keep it like this. So yeah, and I think this will be better for a living space overall, since we opened it up a little bit more. And I think what I'll do for the last little bits here, because I'm planning on actually furnishing this, that will take a bit of time, so I might cut that part out, but just give you a tour at the end. What I'm going to do is just cover that up like so, just so that way it looks a little bit more built in rather than just it being free, you know, like free roam or whatever. I don't know why it won't let me put, oh, here we go. Yeah, like this game is a little finicky sometimes. Will do that. Alright, so this is kind of the interior, so let's go upstairs so I can show you the, oh, I did not put the ceiling back. There we go. So let's go upstairs here. So this will be like a little bedroom here. This will be like some storage space if you want to use this as such. And then obviously back down here, we go back this way. This like little kitchen area. Okay. For the outside, there's just one or a couple things I should do. And one of those is putting something like this, like an awning, or I think there actually is an awning. Yeah, they do have an awning. Just like that. And then I just put maybe not the Nemedian, just because I don't like the wood that's on there, but something that's better suited for maybe outside. Maybe the stables ceiling, just because the wood does look pretty nice in my opinion. Yeah, just like that. I wish there was like a little, like a half wedge for this because filling this corner would be really nice to do. It would make things a little bit easier, but that's okay. That is fine with me. We will deal with it. So we have the awning, and then either I could keep this out like so, or I could just have it end right there and put the stairs down just like that. And then close it off with a fence. But I'm not going to use the Nemedian fence. I'm actually going to use something a little bit different. There's something very similar looking that can match, but also it's not part of the same pack. And I think I have to put, can I not put the fence down first? No, it won't let me put the fence down there. It might be a little bit finicky. Give me a second. Alright, there we go. I fixed it. I had to put the wall, well, I had to remove this wall to put the fence down first. Then I put the wall back, and then I put the awning down. It was a step-by-step process. But it looks good. And I used the frontier fencing just because, again, wood matches. It's a different shade, but I think it still works the same. Alright, so one of the last things to do for outside is obviously some lights. So let's find lights here. And I think for something like this, that's way too low. Something not too bright, but something that's not too dark either for when it's dark outside. So something like that looks really nice as like a porch light. Or what you could do instead is if you want to see it more on the bottom as you're coming out, you could use maybe something like that, like a wall torch of some sort. It doesn't have to be the Argosian one, since that's DLC. You could use something that's more vanilla based, which you could probably use the bracketed torch, which has the same lighting effect as the Argosian one. Or if you get later into the game, you can either use the Witchfire wall torch or a Radium wall torch, whichever one you want. But I think for this one, I'm going to use the Argosian since it's more of like the like more of a dream, quote unquote, dream build that I have. So I think that looks good. All right, so the next thing I'm going to do, I'm not going to show this bit, but when I get back, I'm going to show the house that is furnished in the style that I think is best suited for a build like this. So I'll be right back in just a minute. Great, guys. I've finally furnished the entire house. It took a little bit because there were some spaces in there that I was trying to figure out, like, should a table go here? Should maybe a rack go here or a shelf or something? But I think it looks good. So let me give you guys a little bit of a tour. So we come through the front door here. We come into this lovely little house in the Highlands. We open the door and we're first introduced to the living room or the living space. So we have the Nemedian fireplace right here. I decided to put some logs here, to stoke the fires in case it gets low. I put a little plant here in the corner, a decorative plant just to fill in that little space. Little rug here or carpet. And then I put a Nemedian chair here. At first there was like more of, I wouldn't say couch, but it was a longer seating, but I decided to just do the chair since it's just me, pretty much. And then on this wall, I actually used these bookcases that was from one of the previous, I think it was the last Battle Pass that existed, and I really like them a lot. I line them along this wall here, and I add little tables and chairs, the table and chairs here with books stacked up and scrolls and a piece of paper, just kind of fill in that little bit of stuff that's going on in that corner there. In here, I didn't really actually do anything in here because I found this to be more of something where, this could be done with, you could put boxes in here if you want to, mainly just storage stuff. So I kind of left it empty. Not really enough room to be a bathroom. So yeah. But in here is the kitchen. So we have the beautiful improved stove here. I put some wall lighting here on the inside. I put some shelves here with some decorative stuff like a drinking horn, a little cup there, and it looks like a jar. Got some wine racks here and some bottles too. Got the preservation box. Got this brewing fermentation barrel, ale keg, and then obviously there's a foraging box, a small crate, medium crate, just to, where you put store your meats or your other stuff like spices and everything like that. And then as we go through here, this is the dining room, which I think looks really nice. I have this candle, this beautiful, beautiful, I don't know what it says drinking horn, the arcane candelabra. It's so beautiful. I have some mounts here that are on the wall. We have a turtle, we have a kudo, we have an antelope, we have the elk king as well, and then some also decorative stuff here like bowls, teapot, tankards, plates, things like that. And then I also put this here, uh, these trophies here, because if you have friends over in the server, or if you build this in survival and have other friends that come by and they're living somewhere else in the map and then they come visit you, you can brag about the stuff you have. These are good conversation starters. But let's head upstairs, and I put a little light in the hallway here because it does get dark. And before we go in there, in this little hallway bit, I added a artisan table just to fill in this little space here. I tried to have it where it could fit this side of the wall, but it wasn't. It was too wide. It was a bit weird, so I had to move it like this. But if we come in here, this is our arsenal room, which I could fill up more of the space, but I just decided to have, like a shield display. We have weapon racks here. I just spawned random weapons to put in there. Same with this side, the display rack as well. And then we also have armor displays, one male, one female. I put the Pictish armor and then the Argosian armor on these displays, which I think is really cool. But yeah, I could fill in the space a little bit more, but yeah. And there isn't a light in here, but I don't think there's really any necessary lights that needs to be put in here. But if I were to, just real quick, it would probably be one of the wall lights. Probably keeping probably above the doorway, just like that. Yeah, that'd probably be the best idea. And then the same can go for the hallway as well. And obviously, can I put it right here? No, it won't let me put it there. Because then I can put yeah, just like that. Yeah, that's a little bit better. A little bit better. Anyway, so the last room in here is the bedroom, of course. So I put the Zingaran, is it Zingaran? Zingaran? I don't know. Mercenary camp captain's bed. I think it wasn't too big, but it's not too small. Like, it's not a single bed, it's a double, which I think is really cool. And I put it in this little corner here because if I put it where the window was or in the middle here, it kind of would be weird moving around. So I put it more diagonally like this. I put a Aquilonian bedside table, Gitan jar just fill in the corner there. I put a harp here, which you can play. There's also other instruments you could put down too as well if you so choose to. Some wall decorations, painting, a remembrance tapestry from one of the previous battle passes, painting as well for here, and all that good stuff. Yeah. And then I also put a desk here, or well, it's a table, but I have it as a desk, and I put a bunch of reading stuff, journal, a tome, parchment, illusionist manual. We also got like these tablet of father set. There's another scroll there, and then there's like some decorative stuff right there too. But yeah, this is the whole house. I was trying to put a carpet here in this little corner or like diagonally, but it wouldn't because it'd be too long and the doors and door frames in the way. So I'm like, that'll be fine just as a wood floor. That's fine. But yeah, that's the tour of the house, and that's both the build and also the furnishing of the house. But you can furnish this any way you want. So if you're following along, you can furnish it however you want. You could probably do a different take on this with a different design or maybe add a couple things here and there. But, if you do a build like this, if you do have Conan Exiles and if you do a build like this, I would definitely definitely love to see a video of it. And if you have any suggestions for other builds as well, you can let me know as well. But I think that's going to be it for this episode of a Conan Exiles build. But if you did enjoy this, be sure to hit the like button if you haven't already. I'd really appreciate that. And don't forget to hit subscribe as well, because that lets me know that you guys enjoy the content on the channel and would like to see more. I'd like to give a shout out to my friends Gabe and Barry Medley for being members of the channel, and you can become a member too by hitting the join button down below. I've been Savvy, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye guys. See you later.